Republicans, meanwhile, drawing the battle lines in the debt fight, rejecting a plan late yesterday, and now the ball's in the Senate's court with only hours before we hit that so-called deadline. Last hour, we talked to Republican Sean Duffy about the current strategy. This is what he said.
We actually have to work within the system and divided government that the electorate gave us and try to stop the progression of these liberal policies and then try to systematically move the country to the right. But you have to actually connect with the American people with your policies so you can win elections. And some who want to push it too far with strategies that don't work, in the end, turn off the American people instead of bringing them into our ideas.
I'm going to talk about all that now with Republican Congressman Louie Gohmert out of Texas. Sir, good morning to you and welcome back to our program here.
Thank you, Bill.
What do you think of what your colleague just said about the idea that, if it doesn't work, you end up turning off some people instead of getting them to adopt your ideas?
Well, as I told Megyn Kelly last night, there's no statute of limitations on doing what's right. You do what's right regardless, and that's what the founders anticipated. They wrote about, they said this was not be pretty. They expected gridlock because they knew, and they wrote about this, that the alternative was if Congress just gave a president everything he wanted, all the money he wanted without any use of their own delegated duties, then basically we moved right back to a monarch that we had spent 200 and odd years to fight against. Back then they did not want a monarch. And that's why I know that some of my Democratic friends are just ignorant of the history and don't understand how important it is to put our brand of the House and the Senate on a bill. But, Bill, you need to also go back to the shutdown on September 30th at midnight. They already had barricades, cones from New York to California, Utah, Arizona, South Dakota. They had worked out in advance that they were closing these things down. Somebody in the Senate had to have given them the heads up. We're not going to take up anything, and that's the only thing that explains why they would turn down our initial proposal and then compromises, including the one that was just capitulation that night before the shutdown really started.
A dozen spending measures you passed. Let me just try and cut through this a little bit, too, because what I hear from your answer is that you're not giving up. And whether or not the bill comes on the floor of the House today, you're still a no vote because it does not contain what you're looking for. So
I was begging our leadership last night, at least let's do a CR, give him all the money, but at least treat everybody in the country fairly and say the mandate, let's suspend it for 1 year like the president illegally did with the business mandate. Let's do that for every American if we're doing it for business.
How many votes?
At least put that on the CR.
How many Republicans would support that now?
I don't know. I got an email from one of our leaders saying the moderates are firmly against it. They want nothing but just a clean CR. There's no such thing as a clean CR. It's full of pork. It's full of waste, fraud, and abuse, and it means we are giving in to a monarchical form of government.
Well, what about the subsidies under Obamacare that members of the administration and members of Congress?
I've already said I'm not accepting the subsidies if the American people and everybody doesn't get the same deal.
But the question is, that looks like it's going to stand right now, correct?
Well, it may. It's really embarrassing, but yeah, it may. I can't abide that. So it's just not right.
What was happening in that Republican meeting late yesterday?
In the Republican meeting,
yeah, when everybody got together and this was defeated, the latest idea was defeated. Give me a sense of what the discussion was like, what the feeling was like in that room.
Well, we didn't have a late meeting yesterday. We kept being told the votes are going to be early afternoon, then mid-afternoon, then, okay, the Rules Committee's meeting at 5:40, and then we finally got notice there would be no vote. So apparently, we had a meeting yesterday morning to talk about this, and we were told by our leadership, here's what the deal is. And one of the things somebody back in the 90s had pointed out is that in conferences like that with all Republicans under Newt Gingrich, they were nasty, they were loud, there might be a lot of yelling, but people came in there, all put in their 2 cents, knowing that when they left, we were going to have 218 to vote for something, but instead, the leadership came in, told us what we were going to do, and found out that they didn't have the support for it.
Well, you clearly are going to live to fight another day, and we'll see you on that day. Louie Gohmert.
I grieve for our country as we're getting into this situation.
Thank you for your time, sir. The Republican from Texas, Louie Gohmert.